Aha! And it is recording! Well, will be another episode of my nonsense car talks, which is purely my opinion or observation on things. You don't have to appreciate it or enjoy it or even care. You can even talk shit. That's awesome. Anyways, I promised I was going to be doing a video on socialism, which I think I might have deleted the video in which I promised that, but so what? I still promised I'd do it, so I'm going to do it. Anyways, most people think that socialism is a monopoly of governments. Okay, sorry about that. Where the government has a monopoly on production and such, like Russia. Russia is essentially an oligarchy. It is where there is a select ruling class of sorts, but they're in government. They are government, so it's like technically a democracy according to paper, but no one other than Putin ever gets elected. And every time someone else has been elected, they just decide to, they just decide to stop breathing. It's just so terrible, so unlucky for them. So unfortunate that they would decide to stop breathing. Anyway, so you've got Russia, you've got China, you've got Cuba even. Cuba is a communist country. So is Vietnam, by the way. We actually lost in that war. We went over there to stop the spread of communism, but we lost. They kicked us out. It's kind of what happens when you go into an environment that none of our soldiers were prepared for, adapted to. We're talking a tropical jungle that is like always 80 plus degrees, 100% humidity, worse than Florida. We're talking like Florida during high summer. Middle of the bayous, high summer. It's just, but that's constant over there. Anyways, so yeah, we went over and tried to beat the communists over in Vietnam, the Viet Cong, I believe. I'm not sure about them now. They've kind of opened up to a little bit of capitalist systems, namely like a little bit, kind of loosened the restrictions on free market, because, well, they finally realized, which this was intentional, by the way, on the part of those in power, not just those in power in Vietnam, but those in power like way above countries, because they exist. It's not a conspiracy theory to think of people that have more power and influence than countries do. But anyways, it was the intention of those in power to create a system in which communist countries would be essentially surrounded by, liberal democracies, capitalist countries, supposedly liberal democracies. We're not going to get into the shenanigans that occur in politics that can even compromise a democracy, which a democracy is a good thing, don't get me wrong. Democracy is good. The people should be deciding policy. The people should be the government. What if they want communism? Okay, sorry, getting off topic. Anyways, Vietnam is a communist country. Cuba is currently a communist country. They're like the longest standing that has not opened up their markets the same way as ours has. I think it was during the Obama administration that some of the restrictions ended. But again, that's more of a tactical maneuver, because the thinking is that the more influx of tourists there are from Western thinking countries with like Western philosophies with like capitalism, free market, and all those kinds of things, and America's great, all that kind of nonsense, that it would eventually infect the Cuban people, essentially, and then it make it easier for not only for other methods of inciting the overthrow of the communist regime there. Basic geopolitics is stuff that happens. The CIA did it to the Iranians back in the 70s, I think it was, and they got caught. I think that was part of the Pentagon Papers. I might be wrong about that. I'd have to look it up again. But anyways, the CIA got caught. And that's one of the reasons why the Iranian government hates us to this day. because they know damn well that we play underhanded, we play dirty in order to achieve our ends. Protect America's interests, both foreign and domestic. Think about that. Not just domestic, but foreign American interests. So whatever we might have an interest in overseas, that's not even ours, but we have an interest in it. So, anyways, so we do that. Now, okay, communism, getting back to what it is. We've got multiple examples of these governments that call themselves communists, that call themselves a system, a party that's for the people, or the People's Party, or other some such clever names for it. However, every single instance that I've seen, at least that I've read about, of humans trying to institute communism or institute socialism, is they do it in a way where the government is essentially the monarch, is essentially the ruling power, and that's that. And then it's a bigger and bigger government that is supposedly supposed to act in the people's interests, institute policies that are for the general general well-being, and for the community, and therefore communism, community, same root, communication. Fun words. Anyways, so and they do, to some degree, start instituting policies that are useful on a broader scale to, like, everybody, like, say, healthcare. Cuba has a universal healthcare program. They literally do. Anybody that is a Cuban citizen can go to the doctor, and it costs $6 to fix a broken arm. Same stuff that they do here in America. They x-ray it, cast it, set it, or x-ray it, set it, cast it. Same stuff. No different. They might be using plaster casts, but so what? That stuff works. So yeah, they've got universal healthcare. They also have universal education. Every single one of them are able to get up to up to, I think, like the first couple of years in college from what they can provide for free. They don't have to pay for it. The government covers that. So it's like, that's a great idea. That's actually a really good idea, because if you make it to where, however you have to do this, whatever policy changes, however you have to reorganize things, and we have a complex system, so there's all kinds of ways that we've not even thought of or conceived of to reorganize the system in order to make something from like small parts all the way down to big reorganization. There's all kinds of methods that we might be able to use in order to achieve better ends for the population, which makes sense. So like having universal health care, if you figured out a way to make it to where every single U.S. citizen could have health care, the same coverage that a reasonably a person should get. If there's some kind of medical problem you've got, you should be able to get it taken care of. Arguably, if you have insurance, same idea goes. So if you're able to figure that out through some kind of taxes or single payer system or whatever, it would make it to where you could you'd be able to wouldn't have to worry about it, and it wouldn't come out of your pocket directly. It would be paid for by the taxes you already pay, with maybe like a 25 cents increase, on your taxes. It's insane. It's really not that much more. I mean, Sanders' crew figured out that universal education would only cost like 46 cents more per month for everybody, and it was more by rearranging our budget just a little bit and basically taking money away from, say, like certain institutions that are redundant, that we don't need, like certain intelligence agencies that we've got like 5 different intelligence agencies all doing the same thing, each taking up like $100 billion. We don't need those, not all of them. Condense the people down into like 2, and then have them compete against each other, whatever, but like split the resources up. Okay, fine. Then the money would be able to go towards like a universal education program, to where you just apply for this and you're a U.S. citizen, so you get it. And you'd be able to go to a 4-year degree, get your start, and then after that, I think it should be cover enough to, if we're going to have that, it should cover enough to that would be desirable in the market. So that way you can go straight from college to getting a job and be able to pay off, whatever debt you have, to actually step up economically. That needs to happen. So a communist government, communism is at its roots a system of thinking and philosophies, both political, economic, social, cultural. There are different levels to communism whose goal is for the common welfare. Communism. There you go. Common. That's the root of it. Common. It's also probably where communication comes from too. But anyways, some kind of we're on the same level. That makes sense. So ultimately, it comes down to policies that are socially good for every single person in the population that we're discussing or talking about. So one example of socialist policies here in the United States is quite obviously Social Security. The whole Social Security program was actually instituted back in the 1930s. I believe it was actually voted in 1935, and the Social Security Administration was instituted then. And there was a lot of opposition. They thought it was too radical. It was too close to socialist, which they had just come out of World War I and a rash rise of literally the Communist Party here in the United States. And of course, they had, kind of beat that down violently. And so, of course, the idea of Social Security was a little bit taboo. However, it did get through whatever arguments or shenanigans. And now it's an idea that allows it to be a safety net. To where if X happens, basically Social Security was supposed to be the system to where, like unemployment, it wasn't supposed to be an addition. You weren't supposed to have two different programs to do the same thing. It was supposed to be one program. So, Social Security is basically supposed to be the safety net for anything that might happen, whether you get injured and therefore disabled, whether you're just simply too old to work, or whether you just suddenly lose your job and you still need to pay the bills. You've been paying into this system, you've been paying your taxes, you've been doing all that, you're a U.S. citizen, then boom, you're eligible for it. And you're eligible to get it for so much, so long. And that was that. That is an example of communism here in the United States. Another one, I believe, is trying to think. Oh, right. The Affordable Care Act is technically a communist system, at least more communist-inspired, because it doesn't outright change the underlying market of healthcare, nor does it change the education requirements and all of that. Thank you, truck, for moving that. I'm not sure I was going to be able to stop. It doesn't really change the underlying insurance industry or the healthcare industry or all the other things that make healthcare cost so damn much, that make a specialist visit cost so damn much. Thankfully, my state actually has full coverage for a lot of people, and I'm just at that that level to where I still count for it, which is thank you, because insurance is insanely expensive nowadays, especially for a single payer like me. That's just anyways, so that's another thing of socialism or socialism inspired policies that exist within the United States. I live in Oregon. If you didn't know already, we do have pretty comprehensive coverage of their intercommunity health network, I think is what they call it, or Oregon Health Plan, whichever. It's two different names, but it works. It's the same thing. So yeah, we've got socialist policies here in the institution. Now, there's a different side of it. That is only on the government side, to where there's policies and laws that come in through the normal democratic process, or the normal governmental process that we have, in order to create a program and maneuver funding to for these like welfare programs, because yeah, they are for the welfare of the people. People forget what the term welfare means. Anyways, those are socialist policies, but those are ones instituted by government. However, as far as there's the other sides to socialism or communism, and that is culture. That is where it's not a government or an institution doing it, but it is literally within the thinking of the people and within the culture of the people to band together in order to help out, someone who needs something. That is communism, plain and simple. When you band together in order to help another individual, even sacrificing something of yours, sacrificing something yourself to do this, you are engaging in communism or socialism. You are spending your energy and resources for the common good, because you're helping out an individual, and in doing so, you're putting them in a position to where they can, again, contribute to the rest of society. So, common good. You just engage in communism every time you group together and help people. Now, at that level, to where it's just individuals through their normal choosing and moral, attempting to be, engage in moral behavior, right and wrong. That right there, as far as I'm concerned, is the best form of communism that you will ever find, because it is simply human beings, through our morals, through our innate social instinct, choosing to band together and help someone else, to think of someone outside of ourselves. That's a cultural thing. That's a mental thing. That is not government. We didn't. No one made us do it. No one told us to. No one's mandating it. No one's punishing us if we don't. You just do it simply out of your own choice, or as people like to say, out of the goodness of your own heart. Maybe, but whatever. It's all's well that ends well. So that right there is the best form of communism. You've got the government side of it, where it's like policies like Social Security, and then you've got the cultural part of it, where it's simply people, the nature or tendency of people within that group to engage in activities that are for the common good, or that benefit the common versus benefiting themselves, or benefit the collective versus benefiting the individual. Not that the individual should ever be, ignored. We do not want to do that. There's reasons why, which I come into a different video. However, it's a good form of communism that people really need to take a look at and realize is communism. So when someone says, we want, like we're communists, it's like, challenge them. It's like, okay, do you guys work together? Do you guys, sacrifice for each other? Do you try to organize in such a way that, everybody benefits? Do you try to organize in such a way that everyone's able to be themselves? Because you don't want to ignore the individual in lieu of the collective. You want both. You need a healthy collective, but you need healthy individuals in order to make up that healthy collective. If you don't have healthy individuals to make up that healthy collective, then society is diseased, and that's a problem. So, if someone claims to be communist, challenge them. Ask them if they, how well they cooperate with each other, how well they communicate with each other, how well their society functions, how they deal with crime. What is the crime rate? That's another one. Because if everybody's supposedly getting what they need, then there's no logical reason for crime. Because one might consider that starvation is a logical reason to go steal food. But that's kind of all I can think to say about communism. It really is just at its root, just individuals collectively acting for the common good. Individuals acting collectively for the common good. Not a bad thing. That by itself is not a bad thing. Our very morals of, essentially putting the group above yourself, putting others above yourself, that is actually a very communist idea. That's a very communist idea. Communist, socialist. Now, to do this and to buck any form of institutional or formalized government, then you would be what's called an anarchist as well as a communist. And there's a term for that. It's called anarcho-communist or anarcho-communism. Voila. There's a name for everything. Latin has everything figured out. I love it. Latin or Greek. So, an anarcho-communist is basically somebody that advocates communist policy, communist cultures and thinkings, while also advocating a non-hierarchical structure, a non-hierarchical society, but one in which is engaged in different and novel forms of coordination and cooperation and organization, because we do need organization in order to accomplish the same ends that government might or society does today, and so on and so forth. So it's not a bad thing. We could cooperate all on our own. We don't need to be told to. We don't need government. It's one of the biggest lies in the country. But anyways, yeah. So communism is literally doing good for others. If it's a government trying to control everything, that's not communism. That's called a dictatorship under the guise of communism. Guise meaning lie. So there you go. That's my view.